everybody, and welcome to the Ad Project Podcast. You're listening to Matt and Joe. So, we own Ad Advance, a digital advertising agency with campaigns generating hundreds of millions of dollars in sales. We're obsessed over finding the most effective Amazon advertising strategies, and then we built a system around it. So, now we're here to share our insights and give you weekly updates on trends, strategies, and best practices. So, overall, thanks for joining. As we said in the intro, I'm Joe, and this is Matt.
Hey, everybody.
Yeah, so we're really excited to launch the Ad Project podcast. We've been wanting to do this for years. However, we've waited until now because we really wanted to find a point where we felt like we could provide a unique approach compared to other podcasts in the space. So with our years of experience, software development, testing, lessons learned, we feel like we can now finally provide a unique perspective on how you can really build and grow your long-term business on Amazon through Amazon advertising. So personally, I got started in the Amazon ecosystem in 2014. As I was building up my business, I had a private label business. I really started digging into the advertising side and built out some pretty basic tools. I got to a point in my business where I was really looking to try to find somebody else to manage my ads for me so I could focus on scaling the business. And what I found is that when I was reaching out to these different agencies, that I was actually doing a lot more than they were. And my tools in many instances were a lot better. So at that point, I realized that, maybe I could really focus on the advertising side and build out these tools and the systems to help other sellers. And so at that point, I reached out to Matt because I knew he had a good skill set that would help supplement and help build the business overall.
Yeah, so Joe reached out to me. We met up in a dim lit bar over in Superior, Wisconsin. So that's why we have that Canadian sounding accent. We're in the northern part of Minnesota. Where we cracked a beer, Joe brought his laptop and he told me about his idea and his approach. So he spun the laptop around. I took a look at his models and had quite a bit of feedback on the front end about how it could be structured and some initial upfront improvements. Joe liked that and said, "Are you interested in pursuing this thing with me?" And I said, "Absolutely." So it was pretty much all in from that point forward for the two of us. So the front end, when we got started, we were incredibly focused on development. We wanted to build a really good system, a good framework to deliver the best possible results. Our entire mentality was we build good results. We offer good customer support, active management, and software tech. Good results will follow, and our business will grow. So from day one, we've been focused on tech, service, and results above anything else. So over the years, we've invested heavily in our development, our software design, our database design, and our approaches to managing PPC. We've never moved away from our core philosophy on how we managed Amazon campaigns. We use software where it has an advantage, where algorithms have an advantage over a person, and we use hands-on dedicated management, active management by people where experienced PPC practitioners have an advantage. So over the years, we've worked with a very large number of sellers. We've amassed a database of over 16 billion impressions, well over 55 million in clicks, hundreds of millions in ad sales. And that gives us really unique insights into what strategies work, how to structure campaigns, and what approaches to take to get the most out of your Amazon advertising campaigns. So through all of that iteration, that design, that focus on strategy and hands-on management, and how can we exploit all of these new targeting features that Amazon implements, we've been able to come up with really effective campaign designs and integrations that most sellers can employ and that anybody would benefit from. So we're here to share those with you in this podcast.
Yeah. So overall, the key goals for the podcast, I started out as a seller. And so we really want to focus and take the seller perspective in how you utilize Amazon advertising. Amazon advertising is just one piece in how you build out your Amazon business. And so we really want to focus on what are key pieces that you can implement today whether you're starting out and you're brand new or you're a very seasoned seller. So one piece that we did to try to make this podcast different is we wanted to structure it from the ground up. So what we do is we start with some of the basic topics and really build on top of that as we go. But when we talk about basic topics, say for instance, sponsored products, auto campaigns, since we dedicate an episode to it, we can really deep dive into each of those pieces. And so there are a lot of nuances, baselines, lessons learned, and a ton of data associated with it that I feel like you'll be able to pick out from each episode, even if in general you're very familiar with the topic overall, or if you got years experience or you're brand new to it. So we tried to structure each piece where we cover the basics quickly, and then after that we really get into all of the different instances on how you can apply this to your business. So overall, if we look at the type of sellers that we feel like this will help. So the first one is the brand new seller to Amazon. Those who are really trying to get introduced into the Amazon advertising sphere and how that would be incorporated into how you grow up your business on Amazon. This will be a great spot for you because we're going to start with each piece, each pillar, and kind of build our way up as we go. Instead of other podcasts that tend to jump around from topic to topic, we're going to keep building on that base knowledge and really expand that out. For other sellers like me who really focused on building up their business on Amazon and had a lot of experience with advertising, this is going to give you some great nuggets to really implement within your campaigns. And I bet you're probably going to find a lot of pieces that you're currently not doing that you can implement and put in place. Like one client that we had that has been able to scale their business, Matt, maybe you can go through the story for them.
Yeah, definitely. You mean the one that fired us twice?
Yeah, that one.
Yeah, definitely. All right. So, like Joe said, typically, like an Amazon seller whose business is predominantly on Amazon goes through a natural progression in their account, hopefully, where they start as a smaller scale seller, and they need to build up their listings, build rank, and as they scale, their campaigns will evolve with that business too. So this is a really fun case study that almost came to a close most recently, just basically at the time of recording this podcast, that we got started with just over a year and a half ago, and they went through the full progression. So when they came to us, they weren't a big business by any means. They were working part-time as a part-time Amazon seller. They had a full-time job. And they were really focusing on their Amazon business to try to get to be a full-time Amazon seller, to be a full-time e-com business, quit their day job. And so at that stage, their campaigns were probably doing roughly $15,000, $20,000 per month on average, even during peak season. When we took them on, we found some pretty immediate wins, and their campaigns just went through this natural progression over time where we were able to scale that $15K per month to over $110,000 per month ad sales while concurrently improving ACoS. And the way we did that was through a progression in their campaign design and their strategies that they employed at each step of the way. So what ultimately happened is they met their goal about midway through this year, where they quit their full-time job. Their ad results had a pretty huge effect on their scaling their business, generating more sales, boosting organic ranking to the point where they could sustain their family by just through their Amazon business comfortably. The next stage was his wife was able to quit her job. She had a marketing background, and we had scaled it again to the point where she could quit her job and then just do the marketing and spend time with her family. So we were fired. And it's an awesome success story. It's one of the funnest closes to a client relationship that you could have, where two people's lives were entirely changed. Their entire family was through successful marketing and tactics, not to undersell all that they invested in their business, but we were able to take a major piece off of their plate and allowed them to focus on the other pieces until we were let go. And his wife took it on. As it happens, they enjoyed the comfort of having us manage their campaigns and the things that we were doing. And so they rehired us. And again, we worked together, we scaled results, and recently they got a pretty darn good offer for their business, and they just signed the paperwork and we were let go again. So that's the ultimate kind of end to a chapter with a client. They were able to go full time on their business, create more time in their schedule, spend more time at home with their family, do the things that they loved while we're doing the things we love, and then reach the ultimate success that a lot of sellers on Amazon strive for, selling their business to somebody for a really solid multiple. We're actually now working with the company that bought their company and optimizing ads still. So third time's a charm. We'll see where this one shakes out.
Yeah, so it's another great case where we can definitely keep that in mind as we go. So for those people who are working to really build their business up, we feel like the ad strategies that we implemented really helped us to grow their business to the point where they could go full time and then they could sell their business. And then now we're onto that even next bigger stage where an investor has it, and we'll continue to help them grow there. So we'll go through all the different strategies that we implemented to get those sellers to that point. And then probably the last piece, so the other type of seller that I think that this will really appeal to is those who are working for larger companies, and maybe e-commerce is one wing of the entire company. So for instance, we have one client that their company has been around for over 100 years. Very established in the brick and mortar space and moved into the e-commerce space. Over the last 2 years, we've been really able to help them grow up their e-commerce space and make the transition that we're seeing in the overall economy from the brick and mortar stores into e-commerce. And so for that client, we've been able to scale ad sales by multiple millions of dollars a year, implementing a ton of really cool features and tools and different campaign types and strategies. So those are all the pieces that we're really looking to build up to as we go. So if you look at the overall structure that we're going to take, we're going to start with sponsored products and really work through all the core fundamentals that we have for the different ad types. After that, we're going to go to sponsored brands and then move to sponsored display and then DSP after that. And Matt will cover what each of these are and just key ways that you can use them. And then finally, once we get through all those different ad types and pieces, we'll work through the different ways that you can combine them all together into holistic strategies. Again, not just for the advertising sake, but how to really build your business and make sure that the ads are meeting those goals to continue to grow. So Matt, maybe can you walk us through, just for those who aren't familiar with the different advertising types, typically when you use them, kind of when they show up. And then from there, we can really walk through the specifics on what we'll be covering next.
Yeah, totally. So Amazon advertising is a process of compounding wins. You want to do each stage correctly and build upon a good foundation. Sponsored products is going to be the first ad type that we look at. So much like your advertising, this podcast is going to kind of compound, and we'll get into more advanced topics down the road with nice little nuggets, insights, takeaways for more advanced sellers, advertisers sprinkled in through the early phases too. Anyways, sponsored products is where most sellers are going to start. Sponsored products, you're probably familiar with them. You may not be, because they do blend in with organic listings in search really well. So they're the ads that appear in search results at top of search, that first row, or throughout rest of search on in search results. They're sprinkled in with all of the organic listings that show up. They look just like any product that you'd search for when you enter a search into Amazon. Sponsored products also appear on product pages. So the most notable spot would be below the product description. There's a carousel of sponsored products related to this item. So in that placement, people will click through people will find a product in search, click through because they've shown an interest in it. And that carousel of sponsored products is a way to see related products similar to the one that you click through on, or complements that could be viable alternatives. So sponsored products generate the vast majority of impressions. Since they don't look as much like an ad and they're really useful, they have good utility, they're they are the highest volume ad type on Amazon. It's where you should start. So if you're a new seller, start with sponsored products, launch auto and manual campaigns. We'll get into how to do that in future episodes, and what the best parameters are when setting those up. If you're a mature seller, one of those big businesses coming to the Amazon platform, you should be running sponsored products universally, and it should be a major revenue driver for you and potentially a massive profit driver. We have sponsored products data that encompasses 16 billion impressions, 55 million clicks, well in excess of that, and hundreds of millions in ad sales. We have tons of insights for sponsored products that we're going to share with you throughout these podcast episodes. How to get started, if you're already started, how to optimize, stay organized, and get the best possible results with sponsored products. Once you're brand registered, you can start launching other sponsored ad types, like sponsored brands would kind of be the next stage that you should look at adding. So the classic sponsored brand placement would be that banner ad that typically showcases 3 products at the top of search results. You can showcase a storefront. There's a little tagline for copy, and you can even include like custom images, lifestyle images, or product images in it. But there are also a couple other sponsored brand ad placements types. On product pages, you'll see brands similar to this item. And my favorite sponsored brand ad type would be video. It's just killer. It takes up a massive placement in search results, a big block. There's only one ad that shows up right now in search results, showing one product, and it allows you to just showcase that product in such a unique light. Even the most basic videos, we've seen tremendous results from, excellent conversion rates. Can be competitive, but it converts. They perform awesome. Not everybody has access to video, so great ad type to focus on. Get those creative assets. The other ad type in the sponsored ad suite is sponsored display. And sponsored display is an interesting ad type. There's really 2 forms of it. There's the audience targeting piece, which is what I think most people associate with sponsored display. That's offsite remarketing. You're targeting an audience. There's some options for that to refine that audience to an extent. Same ASIN. So people that look at your product but don't purchase, we can display ads off of Amazon. So that way when they're browsing around other sites, getting weather reports, news reports, whatever, they're re-exposed to that product. That additional consideration is often necessary for people to complete their purchase. It drives traffic back to your Amazon storefront, to a product page. People buy on Amazon. So having the ability to redirect back to it is huge. With sponsored display audience targeting, you can also target like similar products or in category product views. So maybe they didn't look directly at the advertised product. They looked at one similar or one in the category. Those are higher funnel approaches, more awareness-based approaches to familiarize an audience with your products. And then display audience targeting also allows you to target an audience that's already purchased your product. So that's sponsored display repurchase or purchases, which is great when you have a consumable or anything that has an LTV, moderate repurchase rate. Tends to do extremely well with sponsored display purchases targeting. The other piece of sponsored display, my personal favorite, is sponsored display product targeting. Those impressions are on Amazon, on product pages. We can get impressions through sponsored products on product pages, sponsored brands on product pages. What's cool about sponsored display is that ad shows up for one product on an island by itself. It's a good visual. It's a prominent placement and not as widely adopted, not as competitive as the other ad types. So we often have really good cost per click, low cost associated with those ads that deliver great results. Finally, there's one more ad type that we're going to be talking about during this podcast. That's DSP, Amazon's demand side program. DSP got a bad rap initially when it was in beta. They even went through one name change, but it's a killer ad type. As long as your product has 5,000 plus sessions per month, roughly, or your group of products do, DSP is probably a good fit for you. It's like sponsored display, and then it's offsite remarketing, but it has way more control. You can specify really unique audience attributes. You can specify demographics, geographics, just a whole host of features, and then customize the creative to a much larger extent. A lot like Google AdWords, but driving back to your Amazon page. And so we see tremendous conversion from like low funnel, high targeted DSP tactics. So it's an awesome ad type to add to your arsenal.
Yeah. Thanks for going through all those, Matt.
And that was a lot. Yeah.
Yeah. And like Matt said, so as each of these pieces kind of build on each other. So if you're looking at just getting started, we're going to start with sponsored products and then build on sponsored brands, sponsored display. Once we've mastered the sponsored ad types, then we move into DSP. And then once we've got that nailed, we're really looking at all these holistic strategies for incorporating all of them together. So just really rough numbers, like sponsored products, once you add them all together, typically like 60 to 70% of ad spend, ad sales. Sponsored brands tends to fall in the 20 to 30%. Sponsored display tends to fall in the 5 to 10%, depending on the products. And then DSP, you can really ramp up or down budget depending on how wide or how narrow you really want to target those audiences, just based off of all the controls that we have. So we're going to walk through each of them and just start out with sponsored products, use that as a building block, and then really start adding on the extra ad types as we go. So these next couple episodes that we're going to have on sponsored products, they may seem introductory to a few of you who've got a lot of experience on it, but we really tried to add in a lot of extra depth to it, what we've seen from the data, what's the key benchmarks that you can compare your campaigns against. For those who have other people who are managing their campaigns, we want to give actionable pieces that you can dig into those campaigns to figure out and make sure that those who are managing your campaigns are following all the best practices, are utilizing all the different features that are available, and at the end of the day, to make sure that you're getting the ultimate performance that you can out of these campaigns. So we'll start out with sponsored products, talk through auto and manual, work our way through funnels, work our way through bidding strategy. How do you set the right targets? And then we'll factor on sponsored brand, sponsored display, DSP, and then all these holistic strategies like brand defense. How do you make sure that you're owning all the ad space, using all these different ad types to kick off your competitors who are trying to get your customers, or conquesting campaigns? How do you reach out and try to really expand your market share? So all these pieces incorporate all the different ad types in. And so we're really excited to walk through with you on all these different stages of the journey. So make sure you continue to follow along. And yeah, we're really excited to get going. So thanks so much for listening, and we'll see you on the next episode.
Stay tuned.